Hey, thanks for joining. You did it. Nice job. Introducing our project management trainer, speaker, author, and coach to thousands of professionals and organizations worldwide, including NASA, the U.S. Air Force, USACE, U.S. Army, the Department of Transportation, the FBI. Your friend, Phil. Over to you, Phil.
Hello, my fellow project managers. I hope you're doing awesome. Welcome to a very quick discussion today about how to pragmatize the PMBOK guide. As you study it, there are ways that you should be thinking about the content, and there are various things you should be doing. So I would like to explore some of these with you, and we're going to be taking a look at a few topics in schedule management. I'll share a few ideas of the concepts of scheduling with you, and I'll be asking you a few questions, okay? So let's get started with a look at Microsoft Project. So here we go. And you can take a look at the screen here. You can see the Microsoft Project interface, which many of you are used to. But I just wanted to underscore what exactly is happening as you walk through the scheduling domain. As you walk through scheduling, you need to think about what you do in real world terms. So planned schedule management will be planning how to develop the schedule, the software to use, who's going to give you the duration estimate, who's going to help you to sequence the activities and give you the logic, the sequencing logic, and so on. That stuff needs to be talked about up front. But beyond that, you need to get into the actual tasks that you're working on, or I should say processes that you're actually working on within scheduling. So the first one here, the task name, that is really define activities. See? So when you begin typing in your activities, like task 1, like that, this is really define activities right here, okay? Sequence activities is going to the predecessor column and putting in those relationships. So if you put in a relationship between task 1 and task 2 as a finish to start, see what's going to happen on the right hand side, the Gantt chart view. You'll see in the graphical display there, I beg your pardon, if you put in a 1, of course that will help. So whether you put in 1 FS or a 1, you will get this relationship expressed as a finish to start. It's finished to start by default, so all you need to do is type in the predecessor. So the predecessor of 2 is 1, and that's why 1 is typed in there. Predecessor of 3 is 2, and you can see it linking them and so on. If we add more tasks, and join them with other relationship types, you can see what you're really doing in sequence activities is linking the activities in the order that they need to occur, or the logical dependencies. So in terms of the logical dependencies, let's say 4 and 3 are linked. So task 4 and task 3 are linked. I would put in the number here, 3, but they're linked with a start to start. So I'll put in a 3 and an SS for start to start, and that is exemplified in this relationship you see here. If task 5 and task 4 are linked with a finish to start, again, I would just put in line 4, and you see that it has linked both task 4 and 5 with a finish to start relationship. So this is making what you read in the PMBOK guide real, seeing how you are defining activities, now sequencing activities. Let's put in a finish to finish relationship with task 5. So we would put in line 5, and we would put in a finish to finish, FF, like that. And let's do the same for task 7. The predecessor of 7 is 6. So let's type in a 6, and it will just make that a finish to start, as you can see there. If we wanted to change it to a start to start, we just need to add an SS, and you see that. Let's put in another finish to start with the next one. So we put in a 7 here. This next one, let's put in the least commonly used relationship type. I'm guessing you know what that is. And that is a what? Start to finish. So we're going to put in an 8 and an SF. And let's put in a milestone. Milestones have 0-day duration, so you won't really see the milestone as it is until I make it a 0 duration. But I'm going to link it to task 9 by putting in a 9. And it links it. Now, I can put in some leads and lags in all of this. So if I wanted to put in some lead time between, let's say, task 1 and 2, I wanted 2 to have a little bit of lead. I could say 1 minus whatever that lead time is going to be, you see. But one thing you'll notice is leads and lags are applied all throughout time management, schedule management, I should say. So this can be done at various points throughout your scheduling journey. This is not a one-time thing that if you don't do it here, you miss being able to do it elsewhere. So you see in develop schedule, you can also use leads and lags, and as you are controlling the schedule. So going back here, let us put in, like I said, some lead time. But in order for this to make sense, we are going to first do our estimate. Oh, it doesn't like that. See, you got to let it know what you're doing, or it gets mad. All right. So we're going to first of all do our estimate activity duration. So let's go over it again. We've done define activities. We're doing sequence activities. Now we're going to do estimate activity durations by putting in some durations for these tasks. So if we put in just some random numbers, I may have to tweak these a little so you can actually see them all. Or I might just have to utilize the scroll bar. Okay, there we go. So you can see most of it. Let's make this something smaller. Okay, and this maybe a 4 as well. It doesn't like that. It doesn't like when you change stuff. Note, you got to make up your mind when you're working with project, or it gets really upset about stuff. Okay, but there's a method and logic behind the madness, trust me. This is a software that I use quite a lot. I mean, this was the only software program that I used as my PMIS in an environmental engineering firm where I was the project controller. So this was a story of my life for a long time. And before I started training PMP stuff, I started training Microsoft projects. So I've had the history there for a while. So it's not a bad tool, I can tell you that. So going further to put in our leads. So I wanted to put in a lead between task 1 and 2, and I wanted to use a 2-day lead. So to put in the lead, you just do 1. So it knows it's 1 finish to start minus 2. The minus 2 shows you're bringing it in by 2. You're shortening it by 2. So if you do that, you can see that it's brought it in by 2 days. The minus 2 days is your lead time. So that is how you show lead time in Emmett's project. If I wanted to show lag time between task 3 and 2, I just put in the same 2 finish to start plus, let's say I wanted 4-day lag, put in the 4, and you can see it's lagged it out all the way here by 4 days. So this stuff you read about in chapter 6 in scheduling, My advice to you, if you do not already use a scheduling tool, is to use a scheduling tool as a test or as part of your research towards your PMP, and seeing all of this stuff come to life in your schedule is going to help cement the understanding of Microsoft Project and, of course, Chapter 6. Not that you need to learn Project to do well on the exam, but it helps seeing everything come to life in a schedule. I know that MPUG, the Microsoft Project Users Group, they put out some links where you can get some free versions of, trial versions, I should say, of Microsoft Project. So if you have not been to MPUG, I want to encourage you to check them out. Microsoft Project Users Group. So it's MPUG. And I'll just show you right here really quick. You might want to check them out. So over here, Microsoft Project Users Group. Not a bad one to check out. It's the official user group for Microsoft Project. And not that. There's something else that is mention worthy that I need to show you guys. I need to show you where the free trials are hiding, because the free trials they are very helpful for people who do not want to spend a whole bunch of money in just trying out the different Microsoft Project flavors. But you gotta have a lot of room. You gotta have a lot of room on your computer to be able to effectively play with this stuff. So if you go to the mpug.com/resources/Microsoft Project, Microsoft-project-free-trials. I'm gonna have to expand this so you guys can see it real good. Let's expand that window for these folks. Let me do that. Just the address. Okay, here we go. So you can see it. mpug.com/resources/Microsoft-project-free-trials. So what do you see when you go to the page? When you go to the page, you're able to see how to get the free trials for Microsoft Project and more. For those who like playing with the server versions, you got Microsoft Project Server 2010, you got Microsoft Project Server 2013, Microsoft Project Online Professional 2016, so on and so forth. So I'm showing you this, my friend, so that you will just be aware that you got options, as you try to learn this stuff in Chapter 6. It doesn't always have to be PMBOK bashing. When I say bashing, I don't mean you're making it bad. I mean pounding the guide and nothing but the guide. No. You got to balance it up, my friends. You got to balance PMBOK guide with real world. The reason why people get stuck a lot is they don't have a real world perspective to the guide. And you should. It's not enough to just boom, 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 keep hitting it. You gotta, at a time, just say, okay, how do I take this back to my real world? And part of that I actually do for you in the Project Management Audio Digest. This is 24 CDs with 20 hours, and I'm always trying to make it pragmatic and giving you examples and real world and, giving you that, because it's not enough. It's not enough to just read the guide without making it pragmatic, you see. So this product, the Project Management Audio Digest on Praizion.com, we've got a downloadable version for those who want to grab it like now. You can download it like now. And other curricula that will help you make this stuff pragmatic, because it's easy to just read, just read till you're bored out of your mind. But making it pragmatic is a whole new thing for many people. Many people have read the guide, but they've not seen the pragmatism of it, like I'm showing you here in the schedule. All right, so this is define activities. We did that. Then we did sequence activities. Then we didn't do anything from other knowledge areas that influence this. But one of the things to remember is this stuff is influenced very heavily by resource management. So just to give you the visual, there is some element of resource accountability here, where you're thinking about your resources. So you're thinking about your resources. You don't need to go haywire and put in all the overtime rates and standard rates. No, you don't have to do that. Some people do. Like I said, in a previous life, it was a story of my life. This is what I had to do in my job. So some people use project for actually estimating, which isn't bad. So there's a lot, and the reason why it's in there is obviously because cost affects how you schedule. Resources, the resource cost, affect how you schedule. So putting in the resource information is not a bad thing. You can see the resource sheet view in project allows you to put all that stuff in. But going back to the Gantt chart view where we were before, as someone studying for the exam, you got to remember that the resource choice on projects affects the duration. So I know I just put in the duration. That was estimate activity duration. But you got to remember that it is influenced by the resources that you are actually using. So if you're using some really good resources, like your friend Phil, you got to remember that this could impact how quickly you're able to conduct training. For example, if task 1 was training, your friend Phil, being the resource, may make it go quicker. Or if he goes off on a tangent, as he normally does, it may make it go too slow for some people's liking. All right. So in all seriousness, you need to think about the resources on each task, or the resources, as you can assign multiple resources. But you need to think about the multiple resources, my friends, because this could impact your schedule. All right. Now, I know in the PMBOK guide, the minutia is lost. A lot of people are not looking at the detail. Why? Because in the 6th edition, you have the grouped approach for a lot of this key stuff, which is unfortunate. It's helpful. Some people say, oh, I love the 6 because it summarizes. Yeah, I agree. But in the context of catching all the detail, I have to be honest with you, my friends. This is where I get concerned for some students, because they are going to get some questions relating to the book that go into details, such as what I'm going to show you. And I want you to pay close attention to some of this stuff. So if you go to the process known as estimate activity resources, take a look. What do you see there? Taking a look, you get the output, resource requirements, and resource breakdown structure. That's on page 321, all right? So if you're following along, it's on page 321, all right? Now, going beyond page 321 to section 6.4. If you go to section 6.4 on page 195, if you take a look at the project documents, what do you see there? Resource requirements, resource calendars, resource breakdown structure. What is that telling you? That is telling you, my friends, that as you schedule, you need to be thinking about your resources. A lot of people don't think about their resources as they are scheduling, but they should. It is so important that we think about resources when we schedule, that the PMI mentioned resource calendars as an input. So that means you need to be thinking about what? Resources. It is so important that we think about resources as we schedule, that in Microsoft Project itself, for the resources, without going off on a rabbit trail, each resource has its own calendar in MS Project. You may not have known that, but for every resource in Microsoft Project, you got a calendar. Without going into the detail, the concept of leveling again, and I have deliberately over allocated my resources in this schedule. If you take a look, all of this red is because I have over allocated a human. I have assigned Joanne too many times. So she's here. So see what happens if I take her off this task. Do you see those two reds just went away? Now, this could cause trouble in terms of duration or something else, but I wanted to let you guys know that the concept of leveling also exists in Microsoft Project, and that makes it all the more interesting, for part of your PMP study. For those folks who didn't know, you got the ability to play around with resource leveling right here in MS Project, if you didn't know. I'm not saying it's the best of options for scheduling, for resource leveling, but you can play around with resource leveling. So let me show you that really quick without getting stuck in the weeds. So if you look closely, there are various options here when it comes to resources. So on the resource tab, we've got leveling options. See that? I wonder what this will do. Let's click the magic button, level all. Uh-oh, do you see what happened? This underscores, and let me undo. This underscores what happens in resource leveling. What does resource leveling typically do? It spreads out the resources, but it has no consideration for what? No consideration for your critical path. See? So if you hit leveling options and you level all, you see how it pushes out? Just pushes everything out because it says, so it changed a task of 4 days to a task of 8 days. Just look around here. You're going to see that leveling take place. See that? So I know some people are going to get, all bent out of shape. Oh, that's, you're abusing the tool. Look, people just need to see what happens in scheduling so that it's made more real to them. Okay? So I'm not saying just happily press every trigger in the software. No. But I'm saying play with it. Make it real to you. Resource smoothing is different. Resource smoothing will just spread out the resources within any available Slack or float, if there is Slack or float in the activities. Okay? So that's the concept of resource leveling. You can see your resources are over allocated. You could manually level. You could level a resource at a time, or you could just level everything. And leveling everything is always fun, especially if you don't have a backup and you end up saving the damage you did. But you can always back out if you know what you're doing. Okay? So we did define activities, we did sequence activities, we did estimate activity duration, we thought about the resources, don't forget. So your resource requirements, okay? You got to think about your resources when you do this stuff. So there's the resource usage. We can see how many hours a day these resources are working. See, we can go to the resource sheet and see our resources. Those that are over allocated and need leveling are red. There are many other views. So if you click on more views, you've heard quite a lot about leveling. There's a leveling Gantt. You've also heard about the network diagrams. So if we click on that and apply, you can see the network diagram view showing you the critical paths. Those that are red are critical. Everything is critical in this one. But in other projects, you would see some blue and some red, but that's your network diagram view. So a lot of times when people ask the question, why does the PMI make us do this? Why do you make us read chapter 6 and know network diagrams and forward passes? It's because, my friends, in scheduling software that's worthy of consideration, a lot of this stuff is happening on the back end. You just don't know, but it is. It's all happening on the back end, okay? Another concept that is often talked about in scheduling is the concept of the project calendars. The project calendar. So if you click on the calendar, you can see the calendar view for the project. And if there was non-working time built in here, you would have been able to see that as well. Okay? So all this stuff that we talk about in chapter 6, in the scheduling chapter, it is real. It is not just some bogus, unattainable babble. It is real stuff that people need to be aware of as they work on their projects. Okay? Be it defining activities, sequencing the activities, estimating the resources, or, well, that's outside of scheduling, but it's part and parcel of the whole process. Estimating the duration and developing the schedule. And there was one piece that we had left. We should probably take a look at that because we still have a milestone hanging. And I incorrectly typed in 4 days. I know you guys were saying, what on earth? You typed in 4 days for a milestone. So a milestone should be 0, okay? 0 duration. That's what it should look like, okay? And like I said, it is an event, a key event on the project. You might even choose to type in various milestones at different points. So let's insert a milestone here. Let's call this milestone X. Milestone X. Milestone X, again, 0 days. Milestones are 0 durations. A triangle is really what milestones traditionally are. I can link this milestone to task 5 by typing in a 5, just like that. And I can link this to the milestone if I wanted to. So instead of 5FF, I can make it something else, just 6. That does things to your schedule, of course. But I'm just showing you how fluid and dynamic this stuff could be. Okay? So without going on a rabbit trail showing you how to use Microsoft Project, I hope you've come to a better understanding of how to use it for the first five tasks of scheduling, okay? Of schedule management. Now, going beyond this into what you really should do with it after this, what you really should be doing with Microsoft Project after you've put all your schedules together is you should be using it as a tracking tool. That's where the whole dialogue about control schedule comes in. So let's take a look. When we talk about control schedule, we're really talking about tracking. So let's see, let's insert a column here and let's insert percent complete. And one of the ways you can track, okay, I know the Microsoft project gurus are all eagle-eyed to see if I totally disregard or contravene the laws, the rules. The laws and the rules. Hey, I'm not here to teach project, but I'm here to underscore the mindset of what you should be doing. Okay, so ideally, if you are tracking in project, you want to insert your actual start date, okay, and your actual finish dates should be inserted. So when we talk about control schedule and updating the schedule, this is where it gets a little bit deeper, because I'm going into territory that has a lot of stuff leading up to it, which I haven't covered. First of all, before getting here, we talk about develop schedule, and we're kind of sort of there, but we're not exactly there because we've not baselined it. So we need to baseline this schedule. Baselining the schedule is going to etch the schedule in stone, and it's going to prevent people from messing around with the schedule and doing things that are unauthorized. Okay? So if we wanted to baseline the schedule, there's a way to do that as well. To baseline this schedule, let us go to this menu, the project menu. But before I do that, I want to show you what the baseline looks like right now. So the actual start and finish are going to be used for tracking, to actually show we didn't start on this date, but we started on that date. And the moment you put that in, that is then going to be used as a start and finish. And that's why you want a baseline before you start messing around with updating the schedule. So we're going to etch it in stone. So the baseline start is here, and the baseline finish is here as well. All right, so now you got baseline start, baseline finish. Okay? In the world of scheduling, my friends, in the world of MS Project and in the world of the PMI alike, before you begin manipulating actual starts and percent completes and all that, you want to do your baseline start and finish. All right, so we're going to do set baseline, and what are we going to do with it? Are we going to baseline the entire project or selected tasks? We're going to baseline the entire project. So we're going to click OK. Watch what happens. You're going to see the start and the finish dates here become the baseline start and baseline finish. And that's why you really want to make sure before you do this, everyone's happy, everyone's on board with the durations, everyone's on board with the relationships, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, it becomes a big old dog and pony show to update, or should I say change. In the world of the PMI, the word is change. So we're gonna baseline this thing right now. Let's hit OK. Boom. You can see all the dates just moved in there. Now it is etched in stone. So anything you do in MS Project can and will be used against you, against the baseline, in the context of the baseline. So that's why folks who know how the baseline works, once it's baselined, you better be careful. Better be careful, because it could turn ugly if management sees stuff that they didn't baseline in the schedule. All right, so now we've got our schedule baseline, folks. That's pretty much part of develop schedule. All right, so let's go through the motions again. Define activities, sequence activities, the predecessors, estimate activity durations, okay? And boom, we're developing the schedule. So we got the start and finish dates, okay? One of the things we should have done as part of this is under project information, we could choose the date that the project is actually meant to start. So, I mean, if your project is not starting today, and let's say it's starting like far in the future, you could just choose that date and hit OK, but watch what happens. Uh-oh, the baseline didn't move. So this shows the baseline was 3.6, and you're starting on 4.1. You're already in trouble. You see what I'm saying about not doing stuff after the baseline, because it will be as clear as ever that you're in trouble already. So let's undo what we just did. Otherwise, management is going to have issues with us. So this is how it all works in the context of the PMBOK guide, my friends. Okay? So with that said, we want to leave things as is. Okay? And we want to update our schedule. Now, as we begin updating our schedule, the actual start and actual finish dates could be used. The percent completes could be used. Or even in the world of your resources, your resource usage could be used to show actual work. So like here, we can show actual work. And this is where it could get really grimy, because you can see work and then actual work. How much time has Phil worked so far? Okay, 5 hours. That, when you go back to our Gantt chart, you're going to see that some stuff has happened. You can see the percent complete has changed to 42%. Why? Because Phil did 5 hours out of 8 hours, or however many hours he was supposed to have done. And now you can see the durations are kind of getting skewed with actuals, you see. So we need to be careful in project, but for the sake of this illustration, folks, how you would update your schedule depends entirely on you as a project manager and how much you know. But the bottom line is this: as your project proceeds, you want to be seeing some progress. So right there, if you look very carefully, it looks very, very small. But if you're really looking carefully at this, you can see that there is a little progress bar. I'm going to zoom into that progress bar so you can see it. So if you look really close, you can see that progress bar right there showing you Phil's progress. This is what we are supposed to be doing as part of our efforts in control schedule. We need to be making sure that any changes that are raised are passed through the right process. We need to be circumventing any unnecessary additions to the schedule that have not gone through proper change control. See? We need to be ensuring that the team is on task, on track. And that's what we do in control schedule, okay? So like I said, you can update your tasks in a number of ways. See? But before I do that, did you notice, in addition, the actual start date changed to the date that this was supposed to have? You know, you can actually begin updating based on actual start. So if I change this to 6 as well, this is an indication that task 2 has started on 3/6 like it should have. Now, if I accelerate one of these by saying, oh, task 3 started on 3/6 as well, do you see what's happened? Microsoft Project has changed a number of things in the context of this being the actual start for task 3, in anticipation that you might, just might, get some stuff done quicker. So you see how all those dates changed? That is the beauty of MS Project. It gets really complicated and grimy the deeper you go, but if you know how to use it, you would be laughing all the way to your status meeting, because you would be able to show people where your project is headed quite easily and the current status of your project. So anyway, let's type in a few more actuals, just some random actuals, just to show you how it all works. And you can see the progress bar. Well, that's all the way over there, you see. But you can see the effect of updating the schedule. So this would be an example of control schedule. Control schedule would pretty much be your actual start and actual finish dates, your percent completes, and of course all of this stuff has to be done in good taste with the laws for those Microsoft Project Puritans out there saying, I can't believe he did that. Well, I'm illustrating the use of the tool. I am not creating a living, breathing schedule on a real project. So cut me some slack. All right. So with that said, I hope you are beginning to get an idea of what I have been raving and ranting about. Making it real, keeping it pragmatic, listening to the audio digest so that you keep it real and keep it in context. Keep it pragmatic. You want to pragmatize all of this stuff. You really do. Okay? Now, I'm going to take a little break, but when I come back, my friends, I am going to be showing you more tricks of the trade, okay? More tricks of the trade to pragmatizing the PMBOK guide. In other words, what I want you to do is take the guide and dress it up with your real world, whatever your real world may be, whether you work in healthcare, engineering, gaming, IT, wherever you work. Take the project and look at it through the lens of the PMBOK guide. That is really what is going to do it for you, okay? So I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to be back, and we're going to be talking more about the templates and the tools of the PMBOK guide. You know, when I say tools, I'm not just talking about tools and techniques. I'm talking about anything you can use to get ahead in your real world project, okay? And then taking all of that stuff back into context and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing in the real world. This is really what the PMI calls it. Oh, I was doing that. This is what PMI calls it. Some people are doing estimating. They call it budgeting. No, it's estimating. You see what I'm saying? All this stuff is going to become clearer to you if you just follow along, all right? So when I come back, I am going to be continuing the journey, and we are going to be talking about the different ITTOs in the PMBOK guide. So don't go away. We're going to take a little break, tiny little break. I'm going to go to my wardrobe people to do some magic and make me look like I'm in a different day. And we're going to take a look at that website I always tell you about. If you don't know the website, I'm always preaching ad nauseum on this channel. You want to hang around, I'm going to show it to you. Okay? And I'm not talking about PMI.org. Okay, hang on. I'll be right back.
Project management concepts may seem tough at times, but not to worry. You have a coach who makes it as easy as ABC. Here he is to set things straight for you. Your friend, Phil.
Hello, my project managers. How are you doing today? It's your buddy Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I hope you're doing awesome. I just wanted to touch base with you and see how your studying is coming along. Give you a little bit of motivation, give you a little bit of inspiration to keep going. I wanted you to know, folks, the master key to doing awesome on this test is your intentionality and deliberateness. So you got to be deliberate in pounding out this content, you know. Don't stop until it's all in your head. For those folks who may not have spoken to me in the past, one of the things that I tell students to do is to not just read the guide, but to really mark it up. As you can see, mark up the book intentionally, like when you discover new things, mark them so that you can always refer back to them. And just make sure that you've got post-it notes to jot down tiny little notes of your discoveries from what you are studying. That is very important. If you have a study guide like this, Project Management Essentials, this is the Praizion study guide. If you got something like this, you want to do the same thing. You know, keep your post-it notes, you know, handy to mark those pages. And when you find items or points of interest, you need to mark them. And you go back to them, maybe just spend some time going through the markings in your book and kind of reliving what you study, okay? Now, how do you study for more than 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day? You have to surround yourself, my friends, with content. So one of the things I advise people to do is to get the Project Management Audio Digest. There are 24 CDs in this case, and that offers you 20 hours of project management training on audio. There's no other product that you can get like this. Either download it or get the hard copy CDs and get a straight 20 hours. Not just the PMBOK guide ad nauseum, but bringing some real world instances in, some anecdotes and some stories and drama productions to unlock the PMBOK guide. It's one thing to read it, folks. A lot of people read the guide, but it doesn't stick for a lot of people. The reason why it doesn't stick is they don't hear it in a pragmatic fashion. They just see it as walls of text. And that's where I want to challenge you to go to the next level and make your studying a real world research. Take your domain, whether you are in engineering or healthcare, IT, pharmaceutical, the beauty industry, whatever you are in, I want you to take a real world project and I want you to dress it up. What do I mean by dress it up? I mean, take that real world project and make that real world project a reality from the lens of the PMI, from the perspective of the PMI, because a lot of folks read the guide. They really try their best to read the guide, but it's just not sticking. And it's not sticking because they're not putting their project management experience into the mix. So I want to encourage you, put your project management experience into the mix. Wherever you work, think PMBOK guide. When you are working, think PMBOK guide. What am I doing right now? I'm in a room with a bunch of people. We're in a meeting. What kind of meeting is this? Is this a risk planning meeting? Is this a schedule management planning meeting? Is this a kickoff meeting? What am I actually doing? You see, it goes back to my Get Good system, which I have taught ad nauseum on this channel. I've taught it so many times. The Get Good system examines the GWUD approach. And this is a four variable approach to your studying. What am I doing is the D. What am I using? Where's what I'm getting going? And why is it going there? So what am I doing? What am I using? What am I getting? Where's it going and why? If you think about that for all of the processes, it's going to be a lot easier for you, but you have to do it intentionally. Every occasion in your real world job has got to be an opportunity for you to analyze, what am I really doing here? What kind of meeting is this? And the website that I typically tell folks to go to check out this stuff is the CDC website, because it is very easy to get to. In fact, the URL is tiny.cc/Sigma PMO. I've said it so many times on the channel, but a lot of students find value from this. And a lot of folks use these templates and tools that are on this site to bring the PMBOK guide to life. So if you take a look at the screen here, this is a CDC's PMO. And they've got a boatload. Trust me when I say a boatload. There are so many templates on here in alphabetical order for you folks who are studying for the exam to comb through and to look for meaningful examples that you can marry all this stuff in the PMBOK guide to. The PMBOK guide is quite an interesting collection of work of various individuals who, have come together to make it what it is, but it's not entirely complete in that it does not show you examples for every one of the tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs. So for your knowledge and understanding to be full, my friends, you need to find examples of every single one of those outputs in the guide. Examples like this. Okay, here we go. Here's the WBS dictionary. You can see it's downloading. There's a WBS. There's an example of a WBS there. Second example, third example. There is so much stuff here, folks. that it's truly credible. You know, it's a very concerted effort from the PMPs who worked on this, and I can't remember the name of the main PMP that worked on this, but they've worked on this in an intentional and deliberate fashion to give you examples to use. Now, while that wasn't the purpose, it was really more for them to have templates for their PMO, but it's serving a massive, massive educational use. So if you are getting ready for the exam and you're stuck, go to this website. Let me just put the links in the chat if I can. Let me put that in the chat for you folks who are on the journey. I know some people who are not on the journey will also find value from this, because if you're not on the journey, you are probably part of a PMO, or maybe you're being called upon to set up a PMO. So I've typed this into the right-hand side. There's the link again. So you can get the link from the chat that I just chatted in, or I'll put it into the comments for those folks who are watching right now. You can get the link from there. Okay, so that is what I really wanted to share with you. To make this stuff pragmatic, to make it realistic, you got to look for examples. If you don't look for examples, you're just going to be reading it again and again, imagining, and imagination is good, but it's always better to find, you know, a really solid example. Another website is the same tiny.cc/Sigma PMO, but the number 1, and that will take you to our friends at the Center for Medicare, Medicaid, and they've got a similar site, which is interesting as well. So if I were you, maybe you're from the world of IT. This has a bit of an IT and healthcare spin to it. So you can go there and look for examples, you know, of these things we talk about. There's a project charter. There's a project management plan. There's a mention of a change management plan. You see, there's the communications management plan talked about as well. Even the configuration management plan. This is very, very good. Very, very good indeed, because it is only going to help you to cement that knowledge, and that's exactly what you want to do. Cement the knowledge. And for those you can't find, there's some other websites that you might want to take a look at. So there's a website called asq.org. asq.org, those of you struggling with quality tools, you might want to check out asq.org for the quality tools that are mentioned a lot in the guides.